Okay, everyone, here it is, the 1 year anniversary update of us getting married. Um, I guess just to start out, honey, what do you have to say for yourself?
I made it.
So we've had a really hectic wedding, and it's been a really crazy ride for us. We got married incredibly young. I was only 20, and my wife here was 21 at the time, just barely. So
Barely slurping alcohol there.
yeah, we just wanted to share our story and give a little bit of an update, a reflection, what it was like getting married so young. So I guess we should probably just start at the beginning and go over how we met. Hey guys, I'm editing the video right now, and I'm realizing that this section is not very good at all. My wife and I were very scatterbrained when telling the story of how we met, and it's almost impossible to follow the story, and it ended up being well over 10 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and just give a very brief summary of what we said. We met at church in February of 2021. A friend had introduced us, and we hit it off immediately, but then we didn't see each other for almost exactly a month. And by that point, the girl I met, who later became my wife, had forgotten that I existed, and so she thought she was meeting a new person. But we became really good friends and started dating after only about a week. So that's a quick summary of the section, and we're gonna go ahead and just jump straight forward to when we started dating. So we started dating very, very soon after meeting each other for the second time.
We didn't have any money. We were broke college students.
Still don't have money. But
Yeah. Woo! Penniless for days. So we go to Walmart as dates. I mean, that's what I did in my hometown anyway. But
yeah, we would literally just like walk around Walmart for a while and then just like hang out and talk, and that would be our dates.
and a lot of like places weren't open 24 hours anymore because, like I said, this was during COVID. So we would end up walking around campus at like 2 a.m. and that would be a date for us.
Yeah, and it's we really, whenever we got to like eat out or something, that'd be like, we probably only had dates like that maybe like 5 times before we got engaged. Probably once per month, 5 months. So.
And he was into music at the time, and that's what he was studying. And I was into art at the time, so we figured we never had money. I'd say that that's fairly accurate.
Yeah, so we got engaged after 5 months, and it was a little hard for us when we were trying to plan our wedding because we were both in school full time, and I had 2 jobs and she had 2 jobs. My 2 jobs were pretty easy, very part time, and her jobs were ridiculous. She had to work until like, what was it, like
1 a.m., 2 a.m. sometimes?
Yeah, it was ridiculous, and so we had to plan our wedding on top of that, and it was honestly really, really difficult. And going back, I almost wish we could have done like a small wedding because that nearly killed us.
So one of the more annoying aspects and probably a little bit stress-inducing parts of getting married is the church's actually protective measures that it does for marriages. As you know, there's like a half of the people who get married get divorced, so it's a pretty high number. I'm not sure what it is for Catholics, but it was reflected in the Catholics as being way too high, especially for a religion that doesn't believe in divorce. So, they have something called marriage prep, which is basically helping people understand the sacrament of marriage and what kind of trials and what kind of love you're going to face ahead in your life. And marriage prep...
It was silly. It was very silly. I'll say that to be nice.
But I think it's necessary for a lot of Catholics that don't know their faith. I think that it was a good thing. Overall, I think it was a good thing, but for us, it was silly.
Well, it's so weird because, like, first of all, I feel like a lot of what they talked about, it was fantastic. It's like if they just put this as like a weekend conference, I would have attended it anyways. They'll have like presentations on, I think it's
the true presence of the Eucharist. I feel like was
yeah.
One of them.
Well, it was the Jewish roots of the Eucharist. Dr. Petrie, I think.
Peter Kreeft, I think.
No, that's not him. Hold on. I'll grab it. I know exactly where. This is one of the ones we got, Jesus and the Jewish Roots of the Eucharist by Brant Petrie. It was really good. They showed us like a recorded presentation on it. It was like really long, like 3 hours, and I thought like I'd want to go see this, but like what does this have to do with marriage? This is it felt like such a big waste of time, and only a little bit of what they talked about had to do with marriage, and a lot of it was very patronizing. Honestly, it was a little hard to get through.
That point. because we both have very different experiences. Granted that I think that marriage prep that we had was very good. Like, we had to attend 2 days, like a whole weekend worth of stuff, and then we had one more day, like a Saturday of the next week. So, like, they did give us homework, and
Oh, so much homework.
chased us down to get it done. It was weird.
They had us read like basically an entire like textbook's worth of stuff, and then we had all these questions we had to fill out, and we didn't get it done pretty close to when it was supposed to start, and we started getting like phone calls from them saying like, if you don't get this done, we'll have to just put you on to the next one. And literally, I think if we just refused to do it, they could have said, okay, well, you're not getting a Catholic wedding then, because they worked with the archdiocese. It was like ridiculous. It was so patronizing.
It could have been really rough. Let's just put it that way.
The wedding day, though, that was it was a mess. Honestly, our entire wedding. If you've seen my video, Pope Francis canceled my wedding, you'll know a little bit about that. Just to give a very quick summary, though, the type of wedding we wanted to do was a traditional Latin Mass. Pope Francis released a document saying that you're not allowed to do that, basically. And so we had to go with the regular Mass, the Novus Ordo, but said in Latin instead. And we actually had the priest, Father Hollowell, he actually made this specific version that was like the Novus Ordo, but in Latin, but with like touches of English, kind of like what Sacrosanctum Concilium calls for, because it gets very, very wordy at times, and he thought it would flow a little bit better with touches of English in there.
And he did amazing work for us, but it was a mess.
Yeah. So we basically had this half Latin Mass, half Novus Ordo type thing, and they would be chanting like the Kyrie or something, and the congregation would not know the Kyrie. But for some reason, they can't just leave it for my grandma to chant it. They have to have everyone in the congregation trying to sing along to this chant that they've never heard before. And it was just a mess of, a bunch of different people singing along with something that they don't know. And I would just have to sit there and think like, okay, I really appreciate the attempt, but this is kind of falling apart.
Well, let's start with all the things that went wrong that day. So, number one, he forgot the rings.
I forgot the rings.
Well, mainly his rings, because I had my rings. But unfortunately,
this ring was not present when the wedding mass was happening.
Yes. So, another thing, we both got married in our engagement rings.
Yeah, she got an engagement ring for me because I guess I mentioned offhandedly that there was one person in my class who seemed to be getting a little bit flirty, and she immediately went out to a religious store near us and bought me like this like crown of thorns ring, and she said like, this is your engagement ring, it's supposed to ward other people off. And I was like, okay, if it's important to her, I'll go ahead and wear it, even though men aren't supposed to wear engagement rings. But luckily I had it because I forgot the rings that day. I don't know why I was tasked with bringing them. I had so much to take care of, but I tried to have a good sense of humor about it. I was just like, now, honey, I just realized something, and we're going to laugh about this so much down the road. I forgot the rings. And she's like, you what? And it was chaos. They immediately sent someone back to try to go get the rings in time for the ceremony. But the priest that we had, he wanted to do a really early mass so that he could get to another mass he wanted to do, or he had to do later that day. And so there was no time. He just had to start the mass.
I literally got there, and he started the mass. Like, he kind of just waved me in, and I barely got through the doors. And in fact, some of the pictures you could see my mouth open because I'm like, what's happening? Where are we going? What am I supposed to do? Because I got up late that day. So there's also that. I slept in. I was supposed to get up at like 4 a.m. and I was up at like 5 or 6.
Yeah, it
was bad.
They ended up, because things were pushed back, that we started like 10 minutes late or something, he entirely skipped our nuptial blessing. We did not have a nuptial blessing at our mass.
We didn't.
So he it was supposed to be a real long prayer. He cut that out, and then the entire time, none of us knew what to do, because the rehearsal the night before, we basically had, he had like a thing of notes, and he's like, okay, so everyone goes over here, and then after that we have the bridal party over here, the married couple will come over here, and then I'll do this, which is the signal to do this. And that's kind of how the entire rehearsal felt. And he's like, okay, does anyone want me to go over any part of that again? and all of us were just like, well, no specific part, but we don't really know what we're doing. So it also was a giant mess of every time the priest did something, the bridal party would just kind of hesitate. Are we supposed to do something now? And the entire time, it doesn't really show in the pictures, but we were so tense. We were just like, the whole thing's barely hanging on.
The other thing that went wrong, and it's kind of a major thing, is that if you remember, it was all in Latin. So we had gone and printed out special booklets that Father Hollowell had made for us. And it was amazing, he made these booklets. He even put a cool cover art on it. But unfortunately, in the printing process, a couple of pages got switched around. So, not only did it make everyone who was attempting to follow along lose their place, but also there are some pictures of me on the altar trying to figure out where we are and how I got lost. Because, if you got lost at all during that, you weren't even coming back. So eventually, it was just useless.
And another thing is, I didn't have the pants that I was supposed to have. So I ordered through Men's Warehouse, and they basically, I don't know what it was, they gave me children's size pants. It was ridiculously small. So they said they could get it back if we got it within 24 hours of when we needed it. They could get it exchanged. And so I was like, here's the pants. You need to get these exchanged now. The wedding is in 36 hours or something like that. And they're like, oh, it'll be 36 hours bare minimum when we can get it here. That's the absolute earliest it can be here, 36 to 48 hours. And so eventually, I pushed as hard as I can, but they were saying there's nothing they could do. So I had to just dig through my closet, and I found a pair of black pants that matched the black of the suit jacket. So I was able to use those, but I didn't even have the right pants for the wedding, and that was one of the biggest things. I was just thinking to myself, there's no way this whole thing's falling apart. I don't even have pants.
Also, just a quick side note, our ring bearer got sick with COVID.
Oh, yeah.
So we got a substitute ring bearer. Okay, we thought ahead, but he arrived 15 minutes late. So it didn't help. We couldn't get the stuff to him. So there was no ring bearer.
Yeah, and I started putting the ring on the wrong hand at first. I didn't know I thought she was reaching for one hand.
Put it on this hand.
Yeah, so part of, I'm supposed to say all this stuff as I'm holding it there and then push it on at the end to say, I forget exactly how I was supposed to do it, but it was literally the wrong hand at first and I had to switch really quickly. I don't know if that's grounds for annulment, but...
I was laughing when he did that.
Yeah.
So that was pretty funny.
And then we also decided, instead of doing the what is it supposed to be usually the rice at the end of the wedding?
Yeah, that would kill birds.
Yeah, we decided to do it was dried out lavender.
It was the best decision ever. I don't know why he's complaining.
But okay, so it's good because it's biodegradable, and it's much better for the ecosystem. But the thing is,
it smelled so good.
A lot of my siblings thought it'd be the funniest thing in the world to even though I spent all morning getting ready, to pull back the back of my collar for my suit jacket, open bags of it, and dump it straight down. It was the single most uncomfortable thing I had ever felt. It was so frustrating, so annoying. And they were laughing it up the whole time, doing it even more, throwing it directly in my face. And I'm just so mad because I've had such a stressful wedding experience up to this point, and they thought this was the funniest thing in the world.
It was really funny to me.
All right, so I have a couple of questions written out now that we want to go through. We decided these a couple minutes ago and wrote them out, but we haven't discussed these with each other yet. So we both know the questions, but we don't know each other's answers. So this will be our first time talking about this. The first one is, what's something that you didn't expect about married life or was different about how you would expect it to go?
You're asking me? Mm-hmm. Or do you want to go first?
No, you go first.
It's actually more work than I thought it would be.
How so?
So, one of these things that, you talk about it all the time at marriage prep, and you hear your parents talk about it, but it's oh yeah, just because, it's difficult to live with another person. It really is. Me and my roommate before this guy, we were great with each other, but I didn't have to, sleep next to her. So, I would just say that it's difficult, and there's a learning curve that I was kind of expecting, but I didn't expect it to be so hard. Because, you're going out, you're starting a home together, and it's really difficult to find a new rhythm. Because all your life has not prepared you for being married. It's one of those things you just have to experience and embrace some of the awkwardness. But it is definitely interesting to live with another person that is different from you in many ways.
Yeah, I guess for me, it's probably how double-sided the consistency that comes along with it is, because it can be like really, really a blessing sometimes, and sometimes it can be a little difficult because you know before you're married, there's a lot of times you can just say, oh, I want to like go see a movie tonight, and then you can just grab the keys, take the car, and go see a movie, and it's that easy. But once you're married, you have to be home every night, and you have to be with your family, and it can be a little bit hard sometimes in that respect because you don't have all that freedom that you're used to. But at the same time, it can be like the most comforting thing in the entire world. You can um, just know at the end of the night, let's say you're having like a terrible day at work or things are going really rough, you can just say, okay, well, tonight at least I'll be able to go home, see my wife, and we can watch some TV together, and then, go to sleep while we both try to stay awake for the end of our rosary.
Yeah.
But it's kind of really double-sided in that respect. It can be like really, really comforting. It can put your mind really at ease, and sometimes it can be like, wow, I feel like I'm giving up some of my freedoms.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most difficult parts, and one of the best parts is being able to come home and know that that person is going to be there, because that was one of the things that I was most excited for about getting married, was that I didn't have to live separately from you anymore. But then it also became a stressor too. Is like, we can't just, like, if I'm ready and I just want to go to sleep and he still wants to talk, I can't just leave the room. We share the same bed, so.
Or sometimes I'll want to keep you awake because, honey, wait, you got to finish this episode of Tom and Jerry with me before you go to sleep.
And I don't like Tom and Jerry, so it's hard for me to do that. So it's a different experience in life, and I think that's actually the wonderful ups and downs in marriage.
So, the second question, what is your favorite memory of us together?
So, actually, one of my favorite memories of you is our engagement. So, I hope it's not yours, because I'm going to steal it if it is. But we had gone to the church that we got married to. So, I wanted to be proposed to in a church. And he took me to this beautiful church that I asked to be taken to. And he said, there's no way it'll be open. It's completely off hours. And I said, no, we'll just have to go. Trust me, it'll be open. So we get there, and there's a sign out in front of the church that says, come in and pray. And so we go into the church, and he gets down on one knee, and he proposes to me. I started, like, crying because it was beautiful. And you were on your knee, and you gave me the ring. And that was the first time I'd seen the ring, too. And we decided to sit at the altar rail, or kneel, sorry, at the altar rail. And when we start praying, the most beautiful scent of roses wafts into the air. And it was like Our Lady had come to bless our engagement.
So, my favorite memory of us together is honestly a super strange one, but it's when we were over at your family's house and we were still just dating, and this is kind of a couple different memories pushed together, but specifically when we were watching the 1925 Phantom of the Opera together, and it was just such a quiet and peaceful night, and it was just us together watching this silent movie, in your parents' basement. It was like a really cozy environment. It was like a nice finished basement, and there's just a lot of times, specifically because her parents' house was like way out in the country, and we would be able to just like watch TV together at nighttime, and it'd just be so quiet, and it was really nice.
It was really nice.
For our last question, what do you wish you would have known before you had gotten married?
I wish I would have known how expensive it is to get married.
Yeah, oh, man.
Because it can easily be the biggest money suck that you ever had. However, we only spent, like, the price of a used car on our wedding, so we did pretty good.
Yeah, I'm thinking, like, I definitely think the same thing. I wish I had known how expensive it was. My advice to people out there is, if you're not going to hurt people's feelings too much, try to do a small wedding. If you're gonna get married, because it really adds up really quickly. Yeah, another thing I wish I had known is how easy it is to gain a whole bunch of weight right after you get married. Because like I was already starting to gain a little bit of weight when we right before we got married, but it's like once you're married and you are just relaxing with your spouse day after day in the evenings, and things become a lot more easy because if you have a wonderful wife like I do, you know, she just has dinner prepared a lot of times. It's easy to just sit there and get fat. So I wish I had known. I'm trying to work off this, you know, huge amount of weight I put on. But I wish I had known just how easy it is to put on so much weight, so I could have been more proactive about it. I know it's really stupid, but it's a very real thing.
Yeah, I think my mom told me as soon as I was complaining, because I was like, I had said that, oh, I gained so much weight. And she's like, yeah, you know, lots of people gain up to 30 pounds after getting married.
Yeah, so that's my advice to anyone. Just be proactive about your health when you get married. It's really easy to let it slip. All right, that's gonna do it for us today, you guys. I know this was very different from the usual type of content that I make, so the usual content's gonna come back next week. Be sure to leave any questions you have for us in the comments, and we'll try to respond to as many as we can. But yeah, this was a lot of fun to get down, sit down and talk with you for a little while on camera. I think this was a lot of fun. What do you think?
I think it was fun.
Yeah, so
I think it's embarrassing for me, but I think it was fun.
yeah, it was embarrassing for both of us though. So yeah, the usual content is coming back next week, and I'll see you guys then. God bless. An hour